Howdy folks, Spencer here, and today on May 2nd, Cryptic announced the new season for Star Trek Online called Unraveled. This will be dropping on PC on May 9th, and sometime later in May on console, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at everything they have announced for it so far. As always, chapters are listed down below for those of you that want to skip ahead to any specific topic. And the first thing I want to take a look at is the changes to the storyline. The Unraveled season is the first major content release in the game since the end of the Terran arc, and it's going to be introducing a new storyline that is going to be setting the tone of the game for the next couple of years. So they have a bit of information on this blog here, and as you can see by the picture there, Admiral Kumarke is going to be returning to the spotlight. And following the end of Terran Gambit, our captains are going to embark on a humanitarian scientific mission with Admiral Kumarke to stabilize the Nicole Sun. However, this mission is interrupted by a discovery. A trans-dimensional reality vortex is disrupting space-time throughout the multiverse. A conflict ensues with the Tholians, who reveal that constant use of time and dimensional travel have caused these vortices, and our captains are partly to blame. So that is the theme of the storyline here. And there was a press release sent out to a few different groups that has a bit more information. So let's go take a look at Trek Central here. I'll include a link to their blog down in the description below. And the first mission that we're going to be getting in this story arc is called Wish Upon a Star. So this season is launching with just the intro episode for this story arc. The second episode will probably drop sometime after the summer event if they follow their typical pattern. And again, this just restates we're going to be running into the Tholians, and their intentions and goals are unknown. So with this introducing a multiverse aspect for STO, that does mean that there is potential for us to be going against a wide variety of enemies. Because it's the multiverse, that's multiple realities, so we could potentially be fighting against the Tholians in one mission, the Borg or the Mirror Borg in another, the Romulans in another, so on. There's a lot of options for them with this type of storyline, and I look forward to seeing how this mission plays out when it drops next week. And next up, I want to take a look at the new TFO and the new patrols. The new TFO is the Leviathan TFO. This is the one that Kale had leaked about a month or so back on 10 Forward, and I've previously talked about in my future of STO video. The expectation was that this was going to be a trench type experience or something similar to the Breach TFO, but against the other, and it looks like that's exactly what we're getting here. This is a 5-player space TFO simulating a trench run exercise across the other in a what-if scenario had the Terran Gambit arc ended differently. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and what I'm really curious to see here is if this is just going to be another normal-only TFO, or if they're going to give us this on advanced and elite difficulty also. And for the 2 new patrols, we have Jupiter Gauntlet and Bringers of War, based on the Terran Gambit story arc. And there's no information for these out yet to specify whether these are space or ground. We'll have that news in the next couple of days. But a big thing here that is noted is that there's apparently going to be a new hard mode included for those that want an extra challenge from these patrols. So I'm very curious to see how this new hard mode plays out. I'm curious to see if it's just, more HP sponge on the enemies, or if the enemies are going to be, using a bit more abilities and actually be a bit more challenging to go up against. And I'm also curious to see if this new hard mode is going to transfer over to other patrols, to story missions, and potentially to TFOs, because for some of us, a higher difficulty would certainly help us get a bit more enjoyment out of the game, especially if it's not just more HP sponges. So I'm really curious to see how this pans out, and look forward to testing that next week. And the next thing I want to take a look at are the upcoming changes to the Infinity Lockbox. The actual STO blog was not very descriptive about what these changes were, but thankfully, the press release they sent out has a fair bit more information. So, what we can expect is that there's going to be some strange new world items and the T6 Gorn Hunter Pilot Raider added to the Infinity Lockbox. Now, I'm expecting something very similar to the lower decks updates that we got last year, where they put the ship in the lockbox and everything else in the lobby store. This blog or this press release they sent out does indicate that there might be items also outside of the ship added to the Infinity Lockbox. I'll be curious to see if that's actually true. But they then, of course, mention that there's going to be some items added to the lobby store. So I expect we'll have a blog out for this sometime in the next couple of days. And again, I expect this to be very similar to what we saw with the lower decks additions to the Infinity Lockbox that we got throughout 2022. So expect the majority of items to be put into the lobby store. And as for the Gorn Hunter, there is a couple pictures of it up online. This is from season 1, episode 4 of Strange New Worlds, I believe. And you can see it chasing the Enterprise in that episode. Basically, it looks neat. It looks a little bit funky. You can see here it's got some weird angles on it, and we'll have a clearer picture on it once the blog comes out if you're curious to see it in a bit more detail. And next up, I want to talk about the Odyssey class skin revamp that we're going to be getting. But first, I do have to mention this really nice video that Cryptic put out earlier today. And this is basically a Star Trek show style intro, except it's got the Enterprise F and it's got Captain Sean doing the voiceover that you would have seen someone like Picard doing in TNG. So it's a really good intro. The Odyssey class looks really good in it, and I'd recommend you check that video out. Especially, it's only a minute long. Definitely, spend a minute to watch it. Now, the skin that you see with the Odyssey class here, that is going to be a free update for anyone who owns an existing version of the Odyssey class. There were a few people worried that there was going to be a new Odyssey class that they would have to go out and buy to get the skin, but Thomas has clarified that the rebuilt model will be available for any Odyssey class that you already own, and it will be freely available at the ship tailor once it's put into the game. Now, this is not going to be launching alongside the actual release of this season. Thomas did clarify that it's going to show up in June because they just needed a little bit more time to get it polished up and put into the game. So just don't go in on the 9th expecting to get this new Odyssey skin. It is going to be arriving sometime later in June. And I have a couple other things I want to mention here quickly. They have not yet announced a 30-day special event with a shipper set reward. I do expect we're going to see one of those announced here in the next week, though, so keep an eye out for that. In addition, with this being a new season, you're going to see a new round of codes sent out to Alienware, SteelSeries, Intel, and all the other places that usually give out codes. So be ready for there to be another wave of codes that give you inventory space and some random weapon. And the other thing I'll mention here, Mar Hockman had mentioned it would be a great idea with them bringing in Kumarke again to give us a legendary version of the Lucari ship there. I agree. I hope we see something like that, or even just the prior Lucari ship being put into the Mud store. Make that a bit more accessible, especially given we're going to have her back in here, and you can even see the Lucari ship right there below the STO logo. So with the season, hopefully, Cryptic, you can make that Lucari Hokun ship available a bit more easier for us. Be very much appreciated. Okay, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you to all of you who have stuck around and watched. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. But that's going to be it for today. See you guys around.